Hey, this is Josh from Stone Sour.
So your latest record, House of Golden Bones, why did you choose to release it in two separate albums?
Well, there are several reasons. One was the packaging concept of both discs when they are put together. They build a house, you know, and when we were writing it, we kind of seen it as like a movie, and we wanted to do like an introduction to the characters, a cliffhanger, if you read the short story, and then, you know, kind of build the anticipation of the outcome.
Yeah.
Instead of just throwing it in to just one package. You know, we couldn't have done the packaging the way that we wanted to do it.
Yeah. So the theme of it is about cliffhangers, or...
Well, I mean, the theme is, I mean, with the short story is, there's basically four characters. A human, and then basically an antagonist, his right-hand man, excuse me, and then like the elder good side of the individual. And it's basically a battle, I don't want to say good and evil, but about making this huge decision that's going to change the individual's life for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. So I heard you will release 4 comic books about it. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, it's going to be a 4-part miniseries. It I think the first issue comes out in April. Dark Horse is doing the comics, and basically issues 1 and 2 is part 1, and then 3 and 4 will be part 2. And it's just a visual to the short story itself. It's not, you know, us band guys won't be in the comic or anything like that. I mean, it's literally a visual to the short story.
Yeah. So how does the band work time-wise with Corey and Jim doing the
I mean, we just leapfrog one another. I mean, that's what has happened in the past. You know, everybody contributes, you know, in the writing process. So in some ways, you could look at it in 2 different ways. You know, some people might look at it as being hindering or whatever, as far as always having to stop and then having the time off. But I think with us, I mean, it allows us not to be pressured like a lot of bands are, coming off the road and immediately having to put out another record. You know, we get to let stuff evolve. There's several songs that are on House of Golden Bones 1 and 2 that were actually written, the general idea or concept of the songs were written for audio secrecy. You know, they just weren't ready at that time for that record. We needed more time, so, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and the song The Pessimist, it came to be on the soundtrack of Transformers. Why?
Well, they asked us, and it was a track that didn't make audio secrecy, and you know, we just thought it would be cool to be able to release the track, and they came to us as far as wanting a track, so it just made sense.
And how was it to work with Rachel? How did you get in touch?
Well, we just reached out to him initially, and he came in and he killed it. I mean, he did like 24 songs in 5 days or something like that. You know, tremendous player, very underrated bass player. You know, so and yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
Did you hear any of Skid Row influences?
No, I mean, I didn't hear any. We wanted him to be himself on this stuff, though. I'm sure there's stuff that, you know, when you've done it as a professional, especially for as long as he's done it, I'm sure that there's the little things that he's learned along the way. But I mean, there's nothing that I stick out to the last ones like Skid Row, because I mean, ultimately all the songs our Stone Sour songs, and they were all written before we even thought about having him play bass. So
yeah. And what have been the most interesting this year?
Excuse me, what was that?
What have been the most interesting for you in the band, or
yeah, I mean, the comic book's pretty interesting, you know, to be able to get into that world. You know, we're just getting started. I mean, I'm honestly, a lot of my focus is on the next year, because next year's a huge year for us, you know. Right now we're just getting the machine going. You know, with the comics, this possible special, you know, 2-day, 1-ticket show stuff that will happen, trying to see logistically if we can make that stuff happen in 2014. Yeah, I mean, it's a blur right now to me, right? You know, there's so much stuff going on as far as just getting stuff prepared for next year.
Yeah. And those two albums, is the sound of them in common, or do you try to separate them?
They're completely different, but we didn't sit down to make them completely different. It honestly naturally just happened. Actually, we just got the master to it last night of it being mastered, and for part 2. And I can't wait, because people are just gonna lose their mind, because it's part 1 to me is like us at our pinnacle or our best at what we've done before it. Part 2 is a completely different direction. It's a lot darker and heavier, and I think a lot of people are going to be shocked. Because I was like, wow, this is like, you know, there's stuff not only from musical directions and instrumentation, like there is different instrumentation that we've never done before, different tones, this and that. Even Corey's singing, there's a couple of tracks that vocally he's never done before in neither band that I think is going to surprise people. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Will it be like more growling vocals or more clean?
Well, he takes, it's probably a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But he does some pretty dark, twisted stuff on, as I said, on a couple songs I think that are going to surprise people. But, you know, overall, I mean, it still sounds like us to a degree. I mean, it's always, we have a unique way, and I think it's just because, once again, because all of us write, and all of us bring these different elements together. But it's definitely different. I mean, that's the only thing that's the word that gets brought up when people listen to it. It's like, okay, that's definitely different than what you guys have done, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, it's us evolving again, you know.
What can you say have been the biggest change for the band since you joined until today?
The biggest change?
Yeah.
I think the addition of Roy totally changed the direction and the sound of the band.
Yeah. What is the greatest and the worst thing about being a member of Stone Sour?
Well, the greatest thing is like, you know, honestly make a living
Yeah.
doing something I really truly enjoy. The worst thing is the travel, I think, at this point. It does just beat you down after a while. And the craziness is once you get into this and you get going, and when it all, for me, like when it stops, you know, and it's like, and you start to unwind, and just how, it's weird, it's almost like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
You know, stuff repeats for you, and then to you it feels like time has stood still to a degree, and then you get home and then it's like, okay, wow, you know. It changes. For instance, I have 2 daughters, you know. My oldest, you know, she'll be 14 in a couple months. It's it's like, what happened to the time? You know, it's insane to me. You know, and by the time this all wraps up and stuff, she'll be driving possibly. So it's pretty crazy.
Where do you get the inspiration for a concept album?
Really the story Corey had written, and it's weird because we got together in Des Moines. I went over to his house, and what we were initially going to do last year was do a 6-song EP, cover EP, and we just started talking. He's like, I got this short story, I want to do this concept record, and here's a couple of the tracks I've already started. And that's really where it took off. I was like, cool, as long as we can be as heavy. You know, I felt like we got a little bit away from that on Audio Secrecy. And, you know, it's like, we felt that we could do musically go into any direction. I think that we felt like in some weird way that doing a concept record kind of allowed us to just step out of the norm.
Yeah.
What you'll hear even more so on part 2.
Will we ever hear something from the cover EP, or will you release it?
Release what?
The EP with the covers.
Well, we never recorded it.
Okay.
We went right into pre-production and writing for this record. You know, there's talk about us. My goal is to hopefully get something that we do stuff over the next year. And it's going to be, if we do it, it's going to be more of us putting it together and just doing it live.
Yeah.
And so it won't be proper, and it'll just be, because the songs that we've, honestly, the most of them that have been picked are all very cut and dry anyway. Like it would be cool to have that energy. You know, it's not like we're trying to do a Pink Floyd cover or, you know, something that's got tons of layering, and it's all pretty punk rock stuff. So
yeah. How is the partnership in the writing process? Is it like you write your own parts, or do you help?
Well, we all write individually.
Yeah.
Like, I do for myself. I mean, I do pretty much complete songs.
Yeah.
And when I'll give them to, before anybody else even hears them, Corey will hear them and maybe suggest something would need to be changed or whatever from a vocal standpoint. And really, it's like we've demoed the songs before the others even get it, and then from there it builds. And it's the same thing for the other guys. You know, really, that's pretty much the writing process. Is everybody writes, and because Jim writes ideas, and then they need to be kind of put together. And his forte is to do the layering type stuff, and but for the most part, yeah, that's how we write. The only really true consistent is Corey doing vocals, the lyrics for all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was all.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.